Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, good afternoon once again. We're very pleased to welcome you to our webinar, which is dedicated to our new service, the RBI Payment Tracker. We'll be holding our seminar together. My name is Angelika Pöschl. I'm responsible for banks in different countries in the CIS, such as Belarus, Moldova, Ukraine, Armenia, and Georgia, as well as for financial institutions located in the Baltics.
Hi everyone, my name is Ranka Babic. I'm also very pleased to welcome you to our webinar. I'm responsible for the cash management sales service covering national and international financial institutions. In the next 45 minutes, we are going to introduce our brand new service to you, and we will do our best to answer as many of your questions as possible. So you can ask your questions in the chat, either during the presentation or afterwards at the end, where we will have enough time for a Q&A session. I would like to start, or let's get started. First of all, we would like to begin with a brief summary of recalling some unique key factors, or so to say, our specific USP that defines us as a recommendable clearing bank. As you know, Raiffeisen is represented in 14 countries, in Austria, of course, and as well as through our subsidiary banks in 13 countries in Central and Eastern Europe, where in many we are a leading player in the market. We have over 30 years of experience in those markets and serve approximately 16.5 million of customers.
2,500, what another big number. It reflects the number of banks with which RBI has exchanged an active RMA SWIFT key. And this means that RBI is capable to send payment messages to all these banks. I'd like to mention that RBI settles its bank's clients' payments quickly and as directly as possible. You know, one of our goals is to execute the payments in the most efficient way. In this regard, we provide the so-called in-house clearing possibility, meaning book transfers from one LOR account at RBI to another LOR account at RBI. This brings us to a further huge number, which is 800. This is the approximate number of LOR bank accounts held in RBI's books at present. By using our wide network of LOR accounts, which contains approximately €500 and $300 accounts, our clients automatically benefit from fast and efficient execution of their payments. In-house payments are always guaranteed hour, which means that the beneficiary always receives full payment amount. In addition, US dollar payments settled in-house have got the advantage of facing no time difference. Therefore, whenever a payment can be settled in-house, it's settled in this efficient way. But what if a payment cannot be settled in-house? How does then our decision tree look like? How is then a payment made?
Well, the decision on the routing of a payment is an automated process. As we already mentioned, we try to settle a payment through a large network of LOR accounts in the first place. And if this is not possible, we send the payment through a clearing system or through one of our Nostro accounts. RBI is a direct participant in all the major clearing systems, such as the CSA, the local Austrian clearing system, then the Target 2, EBA, Euro 1, Step 1, Step 2, as well as SIX, which is the Swiss Interbank Clearing System. So maybe it's a good occasion to mention that as we always strive to choose the best possible and efficient routing channel, it's not necessary for you to specify a correspondent bank in field 56 of your commercial payments, because our routing decision often depends on special agreements and with LOR or Nostro banks. Currently, we are capable to execute payments in Euro and 36 foreign currencies, and even to offer a multi-currency account as well.
In addition to what Ranka said, it's important to know that payments are executed according to the FIFO, the first in, first out principle. And that is done within our guaranteed cut-off times. As you can see, the cutoff times standard for euros is 4:30 p.m. It's for commercial payments as well as for bank transfers. When we talk about US dollars, we can also offer 4:30 p.m. Vienna time for commercial payments and the 103, and 4 p.m. for bank transfers. These cutoff times are now the normal standard cutoff times of RBI. They have been extended not really a long time ago. And in addition, there is the banking holidays in Austria, which you have to refer to be on the safe side if a payment can be executed on a particular day. And by the way, the day after tomorrow, there is such a bank holiday in Austria, so the next one will be on the 11th of June. You can find the information about the bank holidays in Austria on our website. And what you can also find on our website is a further document, which is an important document, and it's called Useful Information on Payment Services. Nomen est omen. It contains important and useful information regarding the settlement of payments via RBI. As a major international bank and working with various partners in many countries, what else does actually contribute to our USP? So, I mean, what do we want to achieve?
Well, RBI sets great value on innovations. We know our customers, our markets, and our business very well. We have a superior customer experience and a deep understanding of our customers' needs. We strongly believe in looking ahead and proactively aim to be at least one step ahead of the financial trends and new challenges. So such goals make the difference because every innovation is a further step towards fulfilling our customers' demands. One such innovation was our participation in the SWIFT GPI program. Back then in 2016, approximately 70 banks around the world took part in this first initiative group. And of course, we were one of those initiative banks. We had our go live as the SWIFT GPI bank at the end of 2017. And basically, we can tell that as the first bank in Austria, RBI has started a new age with SWIFT GPI international payment business. And even in these currently challenging times, the innovation wheel at RBI was not standing still. With our latest innovation, the RBI payment tracker, the transparency of payments is now also available to our corporate and bank clients that are not direct SWIFT GPI participants. So tracking your international payments with just one click has never been easier. But how exactly does it work?
Well, the RBI payment tracker provides your bank with the possibility to track your commercial payments and the cover payments sent via RBI and SwiftFin route with just one click, easily, online, and in real time. It's worth mentioning that we automatically process all your payments as GPI payments. Technically, this means that RBI adds TAG 111 in the payment header, which then makes it possible to trace the payment. Please take note that no special format is required from your side. Currently, transactions can be tracked in euros and US dollars. Banks who have signed an agreement with us can access the RBI payment tracker easily via link. This link provides such banks access to all their incoming and outgoing payments, which were executed via RBI, and this is now backdated as from the middle of February this year until now.
And what should our corresponding banks pay attention to if they want to use the RBI payment tracker?
Yes, please pay attention which browsers can be used for the link. On the slide, you can see which browsers are supported. So this is Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Mozilla Firefox, and Safari. It's important to know that Internet Explorer is not a supported browser anymore. For accessing the payment tracker, you need to specify your login and password, as you can see in the mask on the right side on the slide. This is an access via email and password.
Upon successful login, you get the overview shown on this slide, and you can go directly to the search function. The table shows an overview of all your incoming and outgoing payments sorted by date. This means that you have the most recent payments at the top. And now you have two options to specify the search parameters. Either you search by UETR, the unique end-to-end transaction reference, or you start with a detailed search. For using the UETR search, you must only enter the UETR, so that's very easy. But if you don't have the UETR, which sometimes is the case, you can just use the available details that you have of a particular payment. This means that you can search with parameters such as the IBAN, the date, payment amount, status, or the target BIC even. In the previous table where we had this overview, if you remember, you could also see the payment direction, if a payment is an incoming or an outgoing one. All icons are really self-explanatory. So with regards to the payment status, there are only 4 options. The payment can either be in progress, completed, on hold, or rejected.
Well, now let's go into detail and have a look at some concrete examples of how exactly information is provided in the RBI payment tracker. Let's start with the first example. Here we have got an outgoing payment in euros. The status is completed. In general, you can see the senders and the beneficiary bank, they are always marked with squares. All other correspondent banks in the payment chain are marked with circles. In this case, all participating banks and all lines between them are in blue. This means that all of them passed the payment further as GPI payment via SWIFT-FIN route. Each bank indicates the exact time when the payment was received and forwarded. What else can we see? We can see the charging option, which was in this case hour. And we can also immediately see that due to this charging option, there were no deducts done. We can see the instructed amount, which was 5,000 euros. And because of no deductions, the credited amount was 5,000 euros as well. Under the status, you will find the sub-status, which says credited to the final beneficiary. So at the end, you can also see here that there is not only the information that the amount was credited, but also exact time when the funds were available with the final beneficiary customer. The green circle here with the check mark symbolizes the final universal confirmation. So finally, what is also visible is the total time of processing. You see that the payment was processed within 22 minutes and 7 seconds.
I would say this was a pretty simple example.
Yes, so let's have a look at the second one. What do we see here? We have again a completed payment, sub-status credited to the final beneficiary. However, there is a difference compared to the previous example. The payment was originated by one of our Russian correspondent banks. The payment is in US dollars, as you can see here. And the payment was sent further to Citibank. And between Citibank and JP Morgan Chase, the payment left the SWIFT-FIN route. And this is the reason why the line here is not solid anymore, but dotted. Citibank transferred the funds to JP Morgan Chase, And JP Morgan Chase Bank itself is again a GPI bank. And therefore, you can see again here the blue square. Information is given again about the final crediting to the beneficiary. And again, in this case, we had an hour payment and no deducts. Total duration of processing was 10 minutes and 48 seconds. Let's move on to a third example, where we have also payment status completed. In this case, we have got a commercial payment order with a cover payment in between. The payment is in US dollars and has, again, charging option hour. The originating bank is in Belarus and sent the instruction to RBI. RBI further, and you see here again all the exact times with regard to the processing, sends the payment further to the correspondent US dollar correspondent of ours, which is Bank of America in this case. And Bank of America sent a cover payment to JP Morgan Chase. So here you can see also the cover payment information. What you can see is that there are actually two final confirmations. The one here is for the cover payment. So we know that the cover has finally been received. And the other confirmation here shows that, in fact, the final beneficiary bank has received both messages and the amount was credited to the beneficiary's account. Therefore, again, we see substatus credited to the final beneficiary. The payment is fully processed and it took 17 minutes and 10 seconds. So up to now, I have shown you 3 examples and all those were with payments status completed. Ranka, let's have a look at how it looks like if a payment was not fully completed yet.
Okay, let's continue with some examples of an uncompleted payment. Here we have, yes, that's the right side. Here we have a payment that is still in progress, as you can see here. In this case, you can see that we transferred the payment to Bayerische Landesbank. From there, it was sent to Helaba and forwarded to the beneficiary bank Stadtsparkasse, which is obviously not a SWIFT GPI participating bank. You can see that under the status in progress on the top, there is a more detailed substatus which says forwarded to next non-GPI agent. Therefore, the blue color of the graph has changed into gray and the solid line has become a dotted line. And here it's important to say that till November 2020, there is no obligation for a non-GPI bank to provide a universal confirmation. Consequently, like in this case here, there is no information about the crediting of the amount to the beneficiary, and therefore the payment status remains in progress, although the beneficiary might have even received the money already. So it's not very clear. But hopefully when all banks start to provide the universal confirmation, this information will be completed in more and more cases. Our next slide is an example of an incoming US dollar payment in favor of a Russian bank. The originating bank is in Uzbekistan. As it is a payment with charging option shared, here we can exactly see that Citibank deducted their commission of $100 and then RBI deducted their commission of $32. So fully transparency is provided. And finally, the payment was credited to the Russian bank's account with RBI. But also in this case, since the Russian bank is a non-GPI bank, you can only see half of the square in blue. So the final confirmation about the crediting of the funds to the beneficiary's account is not shown. But that's why also here the status remains in progress. The next example is a payment with the status on hold. This euro payment was initiated by a Russian bank via RBI to a Japanese bank. And here it's interesting, as due to the time difference in Japan, the payment could not be credited to the recipient at the same day. So most probably the time difference was the reason for the payment that was on hold. Yes, on hold. For the difference, the reason for that the payment was temporarily stopped and was not able to be tracked. Under the payment status on hold, you can see a detailed substatus saying same day value not possible. Another example of a payment with status on hold is shown here. In this case, we can even see that in between, the US dollar payment left the SWIFT fin world for a moment, as most probably it was sent from Bank of America to JP Morgan through the US clearing system. It then returned to the SWIFT environment, but remained on hold by the Commercial Bank of Dubai for more than 2 hours. The last example that might be interesting to show is a payment with the status rejected. So far, we can only see that the payment has been rejected by RBI, because here you can see a red line crossing the circle, but the reason for the rejection is not shown. But very soon upon next release already this summer, also the reason for rejection will be provided with a specific rejection code. So there will be enough possible codes explaining why this payment was rejected. For example, the account was closed or invalid purpose, missing creditor name, and many more. So all in all, as you can see, you can see a pretty lot of information can be gathered from the payment tracker. With all the examples, we try to show you an interesting picture and interesting scenarios and how transparent a transaction can become. So I think maybe it's time to summarize all the benefits once again, Angelika.
Yes, sure. Coming to the end of our presentation, let's have a look at the advantages of our RBI payment tracker service once again. Above all, it increases transparency and it makes tracking of your payments easily with just one click. As shown, detailed information is available for your outgoing and incoming payments via RBI for certain currencies and in real time. As demonstrated, the payment search function is very simple and self-explanatory. For each payment, a graphical view with all detailed information is provided. As we demonstrated, the current status of a payment is shown. Again, this can be a payment in progress, on hold, completed, or rejected. Such information will significantly reduce the number of your inquiries and consequently also your investigation costs. You receive complete, transparent information on deductions from payments. Further currencies and new features will be added already very soon.
Yes, with our next release this summer, 7 new currencies will be added. Payments in foreign currencies such as BGN, CHF, GBP, PLN, and so on will also become traceable via our payment tracker. Furthermore, as already mentioned, in case of a payment rejection, the reason will be shown by a detailed substatus. There will be over 15 rejection codes for better transparency. In addition, there will be further information with regards to the charging option. For example, whenever the charging option has been changed from hour to shared, which is often the case with US payments. Finally, there will be an optional feature at extra costs that will provide easy download of payment confirmation with signatures of the management, as we can see here.
Okay, so thanks so far. Let's move on to your questions. Please feel free to send us now your questions in the chat. So let's have our Q&A session started.
Okay. We have already received the first question from the auditorium, whether the presentation slides will be provided after the webinar.
Yes, sure. The presentation slides will be provided after the webinar, for sure. And in addition to that, we will also provide you with a link to our website and to the document, our useful information on payment services, which was mentioned in the beginning.
Okay. See. Another bank is asking whether deductions are always shown in the RBI payment tracker.
Yeah, that's a tricky but very good question. I think it's important to know and to understand. We had a sample where you could see the deductions, and you saw that deductions were taken by a US bank and which deductions were taken by RBI. So as long as everything is in the SWIFT system, and as long as we receive information by SWIFT, we can also provide the information in the tracker. So actually, SWIFT GPI banks, they are obliged to provide information about deductions in field 71F. But if there is a non-GPI bank involved, or if there is a bank which just not complies with this obligation, then of course, if we don't receive the information, then the deductions will also not be reflected in our tracker. But we hope that more and more banks are not only obliged, but also ready to complete field 71F in that way. And so then everything will be also traceable in our RBI payment tracker.
In the meantime, I read a further question. Someone says, I didn't get, you mentioned that all transfers in-house, where is it now? Mm-hmm. In-house are with option hour, am I right? Actually, it depends. If you sent or instructed the payment with option hour, then yes. If not, then not. What we were referring to is the guaranteed hour. So if you instruct the payment with option hour, whenever we execute it in-house, it will definitely be a guaranteed hour payment. So maybe this was just
yeah, which is also the big advantage when we're talking about dollar payments. Mm-hmm. So if there's the possibility to settle the payment in-house, so from one lower account to another US dollar lower account with us, then we guarantee if the payment was sent with option hour, that the beneficiary will receive the full amount, which is normally not the case if a payment has to be routed through the American system.
Someone is asking, how does the registration process look like? Well, actually, if you're interested in this service, please just send us an email or to your contact person, and we will provide you the respective agreement, and then you will be requested to complete some details, to provide some user details and your mobile phone number, because this is required for the implementation and to exchange a login code. And then it's straightforward. You will receive the login data and you can access the tracker very easily via the link.
There's another question as regards the let's say registration and the usage of the system. If there are any restrictions as regards the number of users?
No, there is no limit. So you can assign as many users as you want.
Another question, does RBI offer this the payment tracker to other non-GPI bank. I mean a non-GPI bank to have the possibility to see this info of the payment tracker. Actually, we offer this special new service to our correspondent banks if they don't have the possibility to become or to be a direct GPI member bank. So for us, it's an add-on service which we offer, especially banks which use the accounts with RBI to a certain extent, because it's also clear the more payments are sent via RBI, the more payments can also be tracked in the tracker. What does it mean? There's a question like, what does it mean, source big and target big in detail search, please? Actually, this is just the big, so the SWIFT code of the originating bank, like source big, and of the receiving bank, the beneficiary bank, which is target big.
The next question is whether the RBI payment tracker is really needed if from November 2020 all banks anyhow must send a confirmation to SWIFT when having executed a payment, and therefore will have access to tracker provided by SWIFT anyway.
Yeah, okay, let me try to answer on that. This is, I think, an excellent question. Yes, it's correct. As from November this year, all banks will be obliged to send such final confirmation to SWIFT. We don't know yet how many banks will really comply with this obligation. We only know that it will be checked by SWIFT only in the second half of next year. However, banks who fulfill the obligation, so banks that start to send such final confirmation, they will get a kind of tracker light or a basic tracker provided by SWIFT. Up to our knowledge, this basic tracker has some information as regards incoming payments. So this means that incoming payment can be traced, meaning you will know the sending bank and the last bank before you receive the payment. But all other banks in between, in the payment chain, they will not be provided. So the end-to-end processing is not given. So there is not the full picture of the payment, but just a part of it, which will be visible. There will be also no information about the substatus. So definitely there is less explanation available if a payment is not fully completed. And last but not least, there is also, as far as we now know, no information about commissions deducted. So which means there is less transparency as regards this light version of the tracker.
Well explained. Does this mean that only banks will have access in those informations, or even the clients?
Everyone?
Okay. The RBI payment tracker is offered to banks and to corporate clients of RBI.
Yeah, but maybe also refers to one of the questions I got already before the webinar from one of my clients. They, for example, either bank who is now subscribing already for the tracker, what they actually additionally wanted to have is a possibility to provide access to our tracker for their corporate customers. So that's something which is technically not possible, but it's clear that when a bank has got the full picture via the RBI payment tracker, and if then one of the corporate customers of that bank is calling and asking for detailed information about a payment, it's much easier to provide this information.
Mm-hmm.
Any further question? For example, a bit more details about it. Is it possible to send a message? I'm not quite okay. Maybe I got the question right. There's like, is it possible to send a message to the participants, for example, to get more details about the payment? If I understand the question correctly, then you mean that you would like to use the tracker for exchanging messages between the different banks in the payment chain. So no, I have to disappoint you. This is not possible.
Okay, I think.
Let me. To be honest, there are also questions about the fees for the service. I hope for your understanding, but this is a webinar where we would like to show all the advantages of the service and how it looks like. This is not, I think, the right time for discussing now any fees. There is a fee, a monthly fee, which we ask, and I really ask you to get in contact with your sales manager if you're interested in the service, and to discuss this issue in detail with the sales manager. Thanks for understanding. Any further questions?
No, there are no new questions. This we already answered.
Let's maybe wait. If there's a question which we can
still have 1 or 2 minutes to send a question. Okay. Then we hope that we were able to provide a good overview and to cover all relevant topics related to our new service.
Yeah, just please feel free if you have got further questions with regard to the service, then just send them via email, and you can be sure that we'll do our best to answer them as quickly as possible.
So thank you very much for your attention.
And thank you also for your active participation, and we really hope to see you and meet you very soon.